The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Many years ago, there was a couple, Lenny and Iris Siegel, and they had their son David, who was in a Jewish elementary school. But now it's coming time to send him to high school, and they're arguing back and forth. His father Lenny said, "We have to send him to a Jewish school. If we don't send him to a Jewish school, we're going to lose him." And his mother Iris said, "What do you mean? This is New York. This is the United States. We send him to public school. We'll teach him a little about what he has to know is Jewish education. There's time for that. But he's got to go to public school. He's got to get a proper education." And they had this argument back and forth for months while he was still in elementary school waiting to graduate. One warm May day, they were sitting on their porch having their argument like they always did where they should send him. And they noticed down the block there was a stick game going on. A game of stickball. And they're watching the boys play when all of a sudden an elderly lady is walking, pushing her cart with her packages inside, and she comes to that apartment building. She had a lot of packages. She was an elderly lady. And they noticed how they started to ask the children to help her. But the children didn't want to help. They're in the middle of a stickball game. They don't want to leave the game. And she started to go over to the kids to ask. When all of a sudden one kid went over and said something to her, which means probably "I'll help you." And he picked up the packages, went inside the house with her to the apartment building, came out a few minutes later, picked up the rest of the packages, went inside, and then came out and made a third trip. Took the packages and went inside. Came outside, and of course, Lenny and Iris started looking at each other because they realized this boy had a yarmulke on his head and he was wearing his tzitzis out. And they looked at each other with understanding that there's a game going on over here. Now, one of those children wanted to help. The only boy that went to help was the one with the yarmulke on his head. And they said together, that's how they want their David to come out. They want their David to be somebody who has good midas. And therefore they sent him to yeshiva. We know this story because David said it over by the bris of his firstborn child. And he said, "I don't know who that boy is, but I want to thank him for me, for my child. And I know that after 120, when he comes up to Shemayim, and he's going to get his reward for how he lived his life, but he will also share in our reward. Because of him, me and my child are from today." But that person, that boy who did it, who went to help, wasn't doing it to go and to have other people learn from him. He was doing it because it's the right thing. But we should know that people are watching us, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us, hoping and trusting and having faith in us that we will do the right thing. As the summer months come, we make sure that wherever we go, we always make a Kiddush Hashem.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org.